I'm Caio. I'm a senior software engineer at X Technology Hub. I work majorly with JavaScript, and my favorite tech is React and React Native actually, but JavaScript is always okay. So I'm going to talk from front end and saying that work with front end is really hard now, because in the beginning it's a little easy to you to pick up some website and see a mockup or a layout and just develop an application, and it's not true anymore, because you have a lot of things to worry about and you have a lot of things to build and to put into place together to have your application working. So the monolithic work and the monolithic approach for working in web applications isn't working anymore for anybody. So we have a lot of sides then impacting in your application, and we can eligibly a few ones just to say that app complexity, side effects, and bundler and resilience and independent handling. This one is really interesting, because when you cannot independent move one piece from your code to another place or move one tool to another place without giving some impact for whole of your application, it's really hard to maintain and expand your code. So the microservice architecture, it's old and a fresh new tools in the front end from people, because we can decope all of pieces of your code. We can pick your UI and your business logic or data access layer and take off of those things for different boxes and separate spaces, so you can independently handling every piece of your code, you can managing every service, you can do everything you need to keep your code in the place. So starting to talk about microservices, not talking about only code and changing the code structure. You need to talk about how you change your team also, because with microservice you can split your team in better members, and a few people can work in a lot of pieces and several parts of your code with different specialities or different kind of ways to work. So you can build a feature-rich and powerful browser application using a single-page app framework like React, Angular, Vue, or anything else, with a top of microarchitecture, with kind of, how I can say this, you need to compartmentalize your code and make components for everything. That's why React and Vue are so rich and so fancy in everybody, because they handle with a lot of things, but one thing's in the place. You do one thing and you solve one problem, and then you go to the next problem, and then go to the next thing, and this is better for how to work. So the mindset is to be, extend your concepts of microservice architecture, of how you can split your code and spread a lot of your baseline, every piece of your code in a little box, and you will be a tech agnostic without no fancies, no love for any technology, because you need to solve a problem with that piece of code. If you need to write that in Go, that's okay. If you need to write that in Node.JS, that's okay too, because that component, that microservice, need to be the more performatic and exceptionally in that kind of thing that she's doing. You can isolate your team code, as I said before, because if you have a backend service and you can split this in one team to work on the architectural layers, another team will work on the procedural layers. You can put 2 guys to work on a GraphQL backend, for example, and then 2 guys to work with your API or something to handle this connection. So you can split your team and give goals and metrics for every piece of your team, and this will help you to measure and to see how your code could be more resilient, because when you have one boxes to hand, and you have one service inside of a machine, you can use DevOps. DevOps is in high because microservice came to the front-end world. So you have a DevOps team inside a front-end team. This is strange, because DevOps only leads with servers, with back-end layers, and something like that. But when you have a DevOps inside your front-end team, you are saying for your people, hey, you can work wherever you want, because when you need to deploy, you have a guy for you. So when you have a guy working with Rancher, you have a guy working with some resilient container application like Docker or some like AWS Simplify. You can drop down one service and put another service, because you have a boxes to worry about. You have a little piece to handle. If you have a monolith application with a lot of your server running in 4 instances of AWS and you have one kickoff, your whole application down. But if you split this in 4, 3, 4, 5 pieces, I don't know, 6 maybe, you can have redundancy, you can have concurrence, you can have everything that you need to keep your application running up and okay. So I bring here one example application. It's holographic, it's a GIF. So you can see how you can split your code and you split your team in different pieces and make a consistent and performatic front-end application. This is a model store. It's an example for a cart shop or something you want to give. And I will split this code in 4 or 3 groups just to see how you can split. We have 3 teams working, 1 tree for inspiration, 1 for checkout, that's button here for buy, and the product, who you work with this whole thing before. We have 3 different technologies. It's 1 component in Vue.js, 1 component in React, and another component in Angular, because you don't need to worry about the technology. We don't need to, what are you building? You just need to make all the things connected and working together. You can have a piece working in everything and share a service between these micro apps. If you have that front-end architecture that I saw here, and then you start working with this thought, you really can see here, you have shared service like database layers, you have shared service like a login access, a security access, could be a service that we shared with your micro app 1 and micro app 2. Because if you have to do authentication, you can authenticate on React, you can authenticate on Angular, you can authenticate on Vue, it's basically the same thing. Just one more thing to consolidate, that you have different texts and sharing service between them. And then you have the really goal for the whole team. When you split your team into products and give them a little of concerns and worries of one specific team, it's like how you have a product owner like a developer. Because you always have a lead or a front-end developer that is more experienced than the other developers. And it's in that moment that experienced developer start to talking to the others about, oh, we need to concern about the checkout team because our doing is to do this. We need to concern about the search. We need to concern about all the stuff with the product. So you split this into different responsibilities and share this with your team. And you have different missions for every team. And you have a consistent and performatic team working one specific thing. This is all in the microfrontends.org. It's a website we have a lot of techniques and concepts mixed and splitting together. And that's all, guys. Thank you for hearing me.